They go, trying to figure out which seat they're going to take. And Jamia Hollings, one of the top rebounders in the entire Sun Belt, there with Coach Rigby. As we continue on with...
Oh,
Give us some tips. What are some tips we can have to do better? Okay. Ready? Smile.
Good morning again, and welcome to the Sun Belt Conference Basketball Media Days. Today we have the 14 head women's basketball coaches and a student athlete from each school here on the main podium. Coaches will give an opening statement, and then we will take questions from both the coach and the student athlete. We ask those of you in the room, please silence your phones, and if you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. And for those of you joining us on Zoom, we have a pretty good Zoom contingent this morning. Please type in your questions in the chat, and I'll read them aloud to the coaches and the student athletes. Now joining us on stage for the Troy Trojans, head coach Chanda Rigby and senior forward Jamia Hollings from West Point, Mississippi. Excuse me, Coach, if you would, please start us off with an opening statement.
Good morning. It is fantastic to be here representing Troy University for such a fine conference as the Sun Belt Conference, and to get to be here with Jamia Hollings. We call her Sticks. Thank you for having us today, and thanks for making this day so special. We want to get the word out about Sun Belt Conference women's basketball. No doubt it is on the rise. Last year, one of the main topics we were talking about were the new teams joining the conference. And now looking back in retrospect, we can see how they have elevated our conference. Other things are going on to elevate the conference. First of all, I got to be a part of a committee along with Commissioner Gill and several others. We met all year about just best practices and ways that we could brainstorm to advance our conferences. And several things came out of that that have been really positive. Other ways we're advancing the conference is if you look at some of the teams that ended up kind of on the bottom of our conference last year, they've changed things around. There are great athletes that have been recruited into our conference. It's anybody's conference to win this year. We are very grateful that we got voted a second place nod in the preseason. We're grateful to the other coaches. With all the great teams in the conference, that says a lot for us and for how they feel about our program. But of course, we're not satisfied with that. Nothing will do with us unless we can fight and claw and win this great conference this year. So we're changing some things up this year in our program. Not only do we want to keep scoring a lot of points and going fast, we want to be better defenders. Even though we have led the nation in rebounding the last few years, we want to be even better at rebounding. We really believe in our philosophy that's a key to sustained winning. And so we're getting better at those things every day. Leadership such as with Jamia Hollings sitting next to me and several other seniors. And also we have some returners coming that are, some newcomers coming that are leading. It's all good at Troy. It's all good, and we're looking forward to competing against these great teams this year.
Thank you, Coach. We'll now open it up for questions. Again, if you're in the room and you have a question, please raise your hand. We'll get a microphone to you. For those of you joining us on Zoom, please type in your question into the chat, and I'll read it to the coaches and student athletes. And, Coach, we've got a Zoom question here, sort of what you already made reference to. How would you describe the overall culture of Troy women's basketball?
So everything we do at Troy is about, it's kind of a repeated quote. It's kind of trite. It's called shoot for the moon. Even if you miss, you might land among the stars. And the basis behind that is always shoot for something higher, set your goals higher than what other people would think is okay. Like I tell my players, if you set your goal and people snicker at you, then you're on to something. We want to set really, really high goals and work for them, because even if we don't hit that goal, even if we don't score 120 points a game, which is what we're striving to do, if we fall a little bit below it and we get in the 80s or the 90s, it's still enough to lead the Sun Belt Conference for 12 years and the nation many times in scoring. So our culture is about always being intentional and setting really high goals, finding a sustained and workable plan that you can take day by day to get to that goal, and working it and always ended up in a higher place than what would be common.
And Jamia, question for you here along those same lines. How much did it influence you coming to the program that does like to run it up and down the floor and has all those nice offensive numbers?
I think it was a good transition for me from leaving JUCO to joining Troy. It was a great transition, the fast style of play. I got in and I got to work, and it just continues to get better.
And along those same lines, how did JUCO play prepare you for the Division I level?
I think JUCO play, it made me stronger in areas I faced adversity, and it prepared me to be on this journey I'm at Troy.
And, Coach, another Zoom question for you. You probably already addressed this, too. Troy's been known for playing fast, scoring lots of points. Is that what we can continue to see from your squad?
Yes, we do want to continue to play fast. We're making improvements to what we call our 120 break. We call it 120 because we're trying to score 120 points a game. That's 15 points every 5 minutes of a 40-minute game. So we're making improvements to that, but we recognize to get to where we're trying to go and win at the level we're trying to win at, we do need to be much more efficient, and we also need to hold people to lower numbers so our defense is going to be amped up this year.
Question for both of you here. Coach, we'll start with you, and then Jimmy, I get your thoughts. You mentioned this multiple times, and I know we talked about this a little bit last year. How close do you feel like the Sun Belt is as a league to becoming that two-bid mid-major?
So much goes into that. I think right now we're not close. But I think this conversation a year from now could be completely different because we needed the lower teams to get much better net scores because it goes on average sometimes of how you look at that. And I think this year there's a lot of good answers for that. Even with the strategic scheduling and the MAC conference, they're trying to get us to have a more comparable game in the second half of the season during our conference. So there's been a lot of strategic things that go into that. As far as the coaches and the styles of play and the athletes, I think we're very close. We just have to get the numbers to look right, the net scores, the efficiency, those things to look right. Scheduling, we're making big improvements in scheduling. The Sun Belt Conference has, through committee work, has put mandates on how many home games we need. They're giving us suggestions of how many higher level teams we need to play to help our net score. So everything starts with leadership and trickles down, and we have great leadership with Commissioner Gill to get us to, as we're trying to strive to get to be a two-bid league.
And then, Jamia, for you, what is it like to play in this league where, it's physical, it's very physical, top to bottom, 1 through 14, everybody's going to give you their best each night. What is it like to play in that atmosphere as a conference?
It's not easy every night going in, but you have to play hard and move forward and think about all the things you could do to be better.
And as a team chemistry, what is your mindset? How do you prepare? That's what the preseason's for. How do you prepare for, the gauntlet, so to speak, of this conference?
I think the schedule before conference is pretty tough, and it prepares us to be a better team going into a conference and gaining confidence if we get some of those wins before.
And then question for you both again, Coach, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts? You've given so much credit to the Sun Belt Conference, and I feel like the Sun Belt Conference has made a real effort to make Pensacola, an end-of-the-year tournament at the beach. What are your thoughts about the experience as a whole? What goes into the venue and the fans and everything like that being at the beach?
I would put our conference championship tournament up against anybody's for a big part of the experience we get to have in Pensacola. The people in Pensacola want the tournament there. The people in Pensacola, as far as the Pensacola Sports Association, I think they're a professional group of people who are hungry for this event to be there. I've been in other conference tournaments maybe where, maybe you were fighting to get a gym to go to get extra practice in. It seems like they've sent an email out to everybody, or I don't know, they let everybody know, hey, if they call you want anything, be accommodating. Like when we're there, everyone is accommodating in Pensacola. It doesn't hurt that people, first of all, that there's the men and women's tournament together. At Troy, we're one Troy. We don't have just men's basketball fans and women's basketball or football. Our fans want to come support all of Troy, so that makes sense. They can load up, come support men and women's basketball, and also have a great vacation if they want to there in the most beautiful beaches in the world. So we love Pensacola. It's a well-run tournament from the Sun Belt perspective, and it's just a great venue to have it in Pensacola.
And then from a player's perspective, what's it like?
I enjoy the sights. It's easier for my family to drive down and watch me play, and being on that type of stage is motivating to me. I like the lights, and the opportunity is given for our fans to come down and join and watch us play.
Question on Zoom, Coach, and also for Jamia. You made reference earlier to the poll, picked second in the poll. Is that sort of where you thought you would be? And is that something you can use as motivation? And for both of you, do you really pay much attention to that this time of year?
So I'm grateful that we got picked second. That we did not, unfortunately, end first last year in the regular season. 3 teams split first place, and so you always think of those teams getting a nod first for the bids. So yeah, I'm thankful that the coaches in our league have enough confidence in us, and we did get second, but second will not do for us. We're thankful for where we began, but we always want to end first. There's a narrow window there for what we can accept as being a successful season, and we're to the point now that only a championship, we can only really consider a championship, a Sun Belt championship, being successful. Jamia won the regular season champion 2 years ago with her team, and but we didn't win the tournament championship, so she didn't get to go to the NCAA tournament. And on the way here, driving here to New Orleans for this conference today, we just talked about the importance and how much I want it for her and her teammates, and how much she wants it to win this year and get to go to the NCAA tournament.
I think it's a great opportunity to be placed second, but we have more work to put in. It's a lot of talented teams in the conference and coaches, so still being in second, I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Coach, question for you on Zoom. Along with Jamia, you had 3 players make the preseason all-conference team. Could you talk a little bit about those 3?
Again, we are very humbled and thankful because there are 14 teams in the Sun Belt and only 15 players made the preseason. And this year when they sent out the voting, I really spent a lot of time trying to mull over those statistics and try to narrow it down to 15. We can't vote for our own players, but even without the ones that were nominated from Troy, it was really hard to find just 15. There's a lot of players in this conference putting up tremendous numbers, doing a tremendous job. So for Troy to get 3 players on the preseason, get the nod for preseason all conference, it was a huge honor.